talk about the aging brain, and for those of you who've never been to one of my talks, there are so many things about the brain that we could fill up hours and hours and never repeat ourselves. Literally days and days of information to distill. Gar said, I'm not a neuroscientist, that's right, but I do speak 2 languages. I speak neuroscience and I speak plain English. And that bridging of the gap is what my partner from Washington, D.C. and I are trying to do, is to get the neuroscience that is breaking through at a pace never seen before in human history. This era, called the Golden Age of Neuroscience, is thought to be the most exciting frontier of human knowledge since the Renaissance. At no time has one area of science been moving forward so fast as right now with brain science because of technology primarily. Technology that has us able to look into Ruth's brain, see what she's doing, how she's doing, and maybe how to make her brain better by doing certain things. We also have an internet collaboration. We also have a new image of aging. This book, which is just out, called The Secret Life of the Grown-Up Brain, is a good basic brain book, but it was out of date the day it was published because new neuroscience is moving that fast. But I like this book, and it's a good one. I recommend it. It's now out in hardback, but when I got this advanced copy, I wondered why the author used The Secret Life of the Grown-Up Brain, the surprising talents of the middle-aged mind. I thought, okay, but what about the group I work with from 50 and above, up to 110? Middle-age is described in the latest neuroscience textbook as 40 to 70. That's middle age. That's a reality. If you realize that longevity is now here, our goal is to have the brain catch up, to have the brain extend its warranty. Knowledge is power, and that's what we're trying to emphasize. That if you were told to take a pill and it would cure Alzheimer's, raise your hand if you wouldn't take it. But if there is no pill, your choice is to do nothing or start doing something. 3 somethings, 5 somethings. If you don't know what to do, you don't know the knowledge of what to do, you sit there wondering, should I buy some pill at a store? Should I do something? Should I not do something? What we try to do is to use evidence-based science to distill, translate into plain English, and we have 6 cogwheels. We're not going to have time today to go through them, but when we broadcast through the internet our classes twice a week, and one of the locations is the Wilsonville Community Center. You can take our courses that are cutting-edge neuroscience. We go through what we call the 6 cogwheels. Why do we call them cogwheels? Because these 6 elements I'm going to go through briefly with you are like the cogwheels on a fine watch. And every cogwheel tooth turns something that keeps your brain healthy. If you don't have one of these cogwheels that's healthy, if you have one of them that's wobbly or stops, the other cogwheels are at risk, your whole cognitive future is at risk. So we call them cognitive wheels. These are the 6 today. Next week, if a huge study comes in that changes it, we'll add a 7th one. But right now there's 6. The 6 are physical exercise, meaning you've got to have more blood flow per minute every so often to get yourself more blood flowing, more heartbeats per minute. So when you exercise, it isn't just for the neck down. It's now thought to be critically important that your brain gets extra blood flow every couple of days. Not a lot, but just a smidgen more. Second is mental exercise. We know if you do the same thing over and over, you don't have to think. You don't have to think if it's routine. You know what the difference between I better be careful, a rut and the grave, the depth. And if you get in a rut and you're not doing anything that's new or challenging, be careful because you really are at risk of not knowing it, but you're sinking and you don't have to think. And then years later you'll say, it's because all I did was go to and from the same place. You have to do something novel. Next is socialization. A huge emerging body of science is showing that if you isolate, your brain will go into cognitive decline. If you socialize, your brain will stay healthier, but it's a necessary element. Next is stress management. We know that stress on the brain that's chronic, that unrelenting, will actually change the structure of the brain. Diet and nutrition have to do with what you consume. A new book that will be published in about a week called This Is Your Brain on Food is going to be talking about everything that you eat is a chemical. Think of it as a chemical, and everything you eat affects your brain. And how it affects your brain, we're just finding out. But we know that you have control over some of the future of your brain by what you consume. But consuming food without the blood flow, get more blood, get the nutrition up, is not going to work. Go up to number one, and that is physical exercise. So you see how these mesh together. And finally, sleep. And it used to be sleep. Our sixth cog wheel was sleep. And then we got studies from Harvard that talked about naps. And then recently we added rest. New studies showing that even if you don't sleep or take a nap, just taking a break, daydreaming, doing nothing, and then later that day your brain is healthier. How many people take a nap on a regular basis? I predict a year from now, over half of you that didn't raise your hand will start doing that, because when you learn that naps have been proven by Harvard to make a difference in every part of your cognitive future, you'll take one, but you'll only take one that works, and that is 23 to 45 minutes. That's it, a certain time of the day. Too bad we're not talking about sleep today. We could have a whole session on sleep, naps, and yawning. We even have science studying how and why people yawn. So let's not get into that. Let's get into music and the brain. We start with the idea of, haven't we always known that brains and music kind of go together? We always have had something to do with the brain and music, but only in the last 5 years have there been science studies that are rich enough to actually have a field of study called music and the brain. We're going to be talking about the two lead scientists in the world and what they found when they actually put to science studies what we've always presumed, that music's good for you. Music is the key to a lot of health issues. We don't know why, and we're starting to learn why. So let's start down that path. We start with the idea that until this golden age of neuroscience, we could not say for certain what happens when you listen to music. So if we've got this as an image, and the way these work is that if you think of something, or hear something, or smell something, or taste something, your brain will respond. When it responds, it will then pull blood to it, pull oxygen and burn it. So if you think of a lion, everybody think of a lion. If I show you a picture of a lion, a part of your brain on the right side where the pictures are contained, that part of the brain will light up. And when I said think of a lion, it may be a different part. And then if I ask you what's a group of lions called, another part of your brain. So we can now trace what happens when I'm asking you a question, what do you call a group of lions? Everybody knows? That's too easy. A group of geese? A group of leopards? A little bit harder, isn't it? What is it? A leap. Some of you have taken my class. And what do you call a group of seagulls? A group of seagulls is a squabble, a mess. It's not a mess. It's a squabble. I learned that I thought it was a flock, but when we researched this 9 years ago and invented this therapeutic game, we found out, wait a minute, there's a book, in fact 2 of them written in the 1400s that actually have this. Lions are a pride. We all agree? That is in the book from the 1400s, the Book of Edgerton. That made it through history. But a leap of leopards faded into history, but it's in the book. A leap of leopards, a squabble of seagulls. What's a group of raccoons? A group of raccoons. It's a mass. A mask of raccoons. Can you remember that? Maybe. Maybe not. Let's keep going. We're going to talk about music. But when you thought of what a group of animals are, if you were in a scanner, we could see it. That's how music is finding out what goes on in the brain.